Hello and welcome back to Heart and Soul Conversations. Today again with Amy Taylor-Kabbaz. Welcome back, Amy. I'm so glad to have you again.
Thank you. It's really good to speak to you again.
Happy days. So guys, if you haven't seen Amy before, she's a teacher and facilitator of a concept called Matrescence, which is the kind of adolescence, the change we are going through of moving from being a normal young woman to being a mother, and what that entails, how to support young mothers, and how to kind of wrap our heads around all the changes that we are going through. Amy has been a journalist in her past, still is, I guess, in a way, because you're publishing a lot. You have published a very successful book as well, and developed courses for women to support themselves, and now are teaching facilitators to take this amazing concept and bring it out into the world and share it in schools and workplaces and one-on-one with women, I guess, as well. So this is incredibly interesting. Add to that if you would like, and then I'll start asking you questions.
Yes, so that's right. My work is very much in two parts. One is directly working with mamas and supporting them through that process of understanding how they've changed through motherhood in positive ways, because we often see the changes in a negative way.
Yeah.
And then also now working with women to really bring this concept to the world, because I think, and I know this is what we're going to talk about, I think that matrescence and this understanding of how we change through motherhood can have so many ripple effects into understanding the physical changes, the changes in your relationship, the changes in the workplace, the changes that you need in your life. But for me, the one that I get the most excited about and I feel is the biggest change and the biggest calling is really understanding how matrescence and motherhood can be this spiritual awakening and this real up-leveling of who we are if we have the right support.
Absolutely. And if we can frame it in that way, because often we just focus on, or at least that was me, focus on all the things that we have lost, the stuff we can't do anymore, being more thin spread than ever between all the different responsibilities, and to just shift into observing what's happening to myself on a spiritual level is fantastic. That's really great. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about this. If you are watching, if you haven't heard in more detail about matrescence before, we have filmed a separate video from this that really explains in detail the whole idea of matrescence, how it works and how we can support ourselves. So make sure you look for that video on our channel, because we're not going into all of that detail here again. So Amy, the stage is yours. What is, I guess, the spiritual journey that motherhood can or should take us on?
I think the gift here is that we get to see that our life's purpose is really to evolve our thoughts and our shadows and our belief and upgrade our lineage, upgrade our culture, let go of patriarchal ideas. Like, let's hope that every single generation, every single step as a species that we're taking, we're upgrading. And if you look at what happens when we enter into motherhood, if we're supported the right way, it is this chance to question, who am I and what's important to me? Because up until that moment, women are told that they are valued because of their productivity, their looks, their contribution, their income, their busyness, their service to others. This is what we are told from the very beginning of our lives. And if without the right questioning, the right support, we can continue to do that. And in fact, just do.
We can definitely be more busy, that's for sure.
We can definitely, in fact, we just add mother as a sacrifice as well. That's not what it's here for. So my understanding of the spiritual awakening is it is the both conscious and unconscious evolution that goes from your ego self to a higher self or a larger self. That's what I understand to be a spiritual awakening. And I believe that that is what happens in those early weeks, months and years of motherhood, is that you have this opportunity to stop living in that ego self, that shadow self, the self that says I'm valued for how busy I am, what my work title is, how much money is in my bank account. Instead, to start saying, What world do I want my children to inherit? What is my legacy here? How am I contributing and making a difference? And I have worked with thousands of mums now over the last 5-6 years. And if you just invite them through that tiny crack of a door that says, you know, it's not about how busy you are, but actually about your legacy, their contribution, your love, your grace, your being, they rush through it like it's this invitation to something they didn't even know they'd been waiting for. So I know that we all have this craving to lift ourselves up out of the grind of productivity and busyness and that very masculine energy of outward focused success, and instead come within ourselves and open ourselves up to a different understanding of success. And that's what I see this as.
And plus to go it hand in hand with others. Like earlier when we were talking in between filming segments, we were talking about like being in circle with women, being supported and surrounded by strong women, and how we've both at different times and through different experiences come to value the circle of female friends that we have so incredibly. So also this idea of like a definitely female approach to community, to life, to spirituality. And I think there's quite strong distinctions between a more masculine based spirituality and a feminine based spirituality. And that, by the way, just for anyone who hasn't been too familiar with the terms of masculine and feminine, that doesn't necessarily relate to male and female. We're talking about the masculine and feminine energies that we all hold in ourselves. Like I personally have a lot of masculine energy in me, like driven, forward thinking, focused, getting done a lot, etc. And I also hold the nurturer, the carer, the kind person, the person that is focused on everything at once and trying to take people with me rather than just going it myself. So it's not something where we are kind of sitting here judging all the males and going like, you know, female forever. Well, we kind of are, but not from a judgmental perspective. And what I've heard, and this is, I would love to get your take on this, Amy, is I've done recently a lot of reading into masculine and feminine base, and we have a joint friend who is very strong as a facilitator for that as well. And there is descriptions about masculine based spirituality being more about transcending the body, going more into spirit, up and out, basically, to let go of form, let go of attachment, etc. And what I've read, and partially this is writing from a more shaman-based perspective, partially this is just teaching around yoga for women. Actually, our friend Katie Rose was teaching this just on the weekend, and I was listening in. Is that feminine spirituality is often more earthy when we really allow it. It's nurturing, it's caring, it's coming back into and fully inhabiting our bodies, working with our cycles, working with all of who we are, and bringing love basically from up there down through us into the world, that's a concept I've never heard about up until maybe a couple of months or a year ago. That fascinates me. Let me know how that relates to matrescence and to the feminine spirituality that you are suggesting as a journey.
Well, everything I do, in our last interview, you asked, so what is the answer to the struggles of matrescence? Yeah. And the answer is embodying the feminine. Amazing. Because that's what this experience is asking us to do. Listen to your body. Understand your cycles, work with what works for you, get into the ground, get out of your head. Motherhood can't be planned. Motherhood can't be structured.
Much as we may try.
Even with teenagers, not just with babies, you think that this is what it's going to be like. You think this is how they're going to behave. It doesn't. Motherhood is the ultimate act of surrendering, and you need to be living in your body. And I truly believe the reason why we struggle so much with early motherhood is because we are so disconnected from the feminine.
That is so interesting. Talk to me more about this, because I think this is like such an incredibly important topic. Connecting to our feminine. What does that look like?
Well, think about as women, and you're correct in saying that this is not a female energy and a male energy. We all have masculine and feminine within us. And the ultimate goal is to have that polarity, the dance of the two, that we're so aware of what is needed in each environment and situation. We can say, right, this is when my masculine needs to step forward right now. And then when that's done, and it's safe and everyone's protected and the goal has been reached, you then say, right, now masculine rest, feminine step forward. So this is what we're saying. But because none of the feminine qualities in a girl's life are valued or celebrated, she's told to very much live in that masculine. We don't rest, we don't slow down, we don't allow our tears, we don't allow our emotions. We have to be strong. We have to keep on going. We have to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Doesn't matter what the season is. Doesn't matter what the moon's doing. Doesn't matter how your body says. It's Monday. It's go time. Yeah. And therefore, we stumble into motherhood, the ultimate feminine needs-based role, so disconnected from our body that we bring that very masculine energy to what this is. Right. So the baby needs to sleep here. We need to do this. The book says it has to be a 10 a.m. feed. And then we have to go and do that.
I got so hung up on that when my son was little. Oh my God, I read every last book and then I wasn't able to keep the 6 hours periods in between. Yeah. And I was freaking out. My son wasn't sleeping as much as kids should sleep. He was always a very alert little man. And I was terrified that something was wrong with him. I didn't really notice that he was actually happy as Larry. I just was exhausted. That's part of it. And he wasn't sleeping as he should. So, oh my God, the drama of that.
The drama and the exhaustion of it. And it's actually quite tragic. We're so unprepared to know how to listen to our feminine energy.
And intuition, we're so disconnected from intuition.
And it used to drive me nuts. But it used to drive me nuts, Henrike, that, I'd be in the hospital or talking to a midwife or the breastfeeding specialist. Listen to your intuition. Your mothers know best and all of this. And I'd be like, I can't hear it. I'm listening. There is no, what do you mean? And so then I judged myself. I don't even have an intuition on this. So there's something wrong with me. Oh my God, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
What we're doing here is we're being asked to undo all of this and try and learn the feminine here. But we're asked to do it in a time where we're completely out of our depths because we don't really know what we're doing, and it's incredibly overwhelming to be a new mum. And this isn't just for new babies, this is toddlers and when they start school. And
because they change all the bloody time and you're always like just trying to keep up with them.
That's right. So that feminine energy, I truly believe that we need a couple of things to connect with our feminine. This is not just a start tracking your cycle and noticing the moon, or get your essential oils and go to a yoga class.
That might be very nice.
All great things. But I actually think we need, and coming back to what you said before, we need a place of women to learn the ways of women. And often what you'll find with those yoga studios or those essential oil classes or whatever it is you do to try and connect with your feminine, it's within those environments that you start to hear other women say, this is how I feel, and it normalizes. Because the hardest thing for us to step into our feminine energy and really have this spiritual awakening, this rising up out of that masculine patriarchal way of thinking and stepping into this, is that we judge it.
I did so much. I remember girls like me at school, girls staying at home or not doing sports because they were on their period. And I was always taking so much pride in not being such a sissy and being able to push through just about anything, highly functional, really successful, etc. And it's being rewarded all along. Like nobody goes like, hey, chicken, slow down. I would get offended if somebody would have said that to me. Right? With the chicken, probably I still would, but you know what I mean. And so we are never encouraged. And I think there's a societal issue with that, but it's also very much the choices we are making. There's actually this interesting concept, I trust you've heard about it, of the female heroine's journey.
Yes.
A lot of us are very aware of the hero's journey, and I used to teach that and relate to that so much. And then I read again just about a year ago about the heroine's journey, and it's like, what? There's this whole other thing there. And it's basically rejecting the mother, rejecting the feminine, wanting to please the father, wanting to be all that, wanting to be seen as daddy's girl. And then the journey through kind of coming to that peak of success, realizing I'm not where I need to be. This is not even who I want to be. And then that dark night of the soul, holding the pain and being in that pain and looking at the negatives of ourselves and looking basically that Kali energy, that angry woman in the face, to then re-emerge and be able to fully honor and connect to us and our feminine. That's right. That was such a revelation for me. I remember when I first saw that. So it sounds very similar to what you are saying we need to go through. It is.
And, it's not always, bringing this back to motherhood and matrescence, obviously, because this is my focus. It's not always when the child is a baby that you have those moments. It can be, when they finally start school and you think, great, I'm going to get my life back, and then it doesn't. So what I see that heroine's journey as, it's like a cycle. We always go through. We go deep into that masculine because that's what we've been taught where we will be valued. That's where we will be seen and acknowledged and celebrated and congratulated and look, I'm doing a good job. And we always have that crisis because it doesn't work. So that crisis might be, I can't keep up with this job and motherhood. This is, I was going to swear then. This is, you know what I'm going to say.
I don't mind. I'll be the first one to say it as I've seen it.
And it doesn't work, and I'm broken, or the system's broken, or my marriage is broken, or my kids can't handle this, I'm going to quit, or whatever it is. But there will come a time where you hit a crisis point. And then what we do then is that we go deep into the feminine. We go far into that Kali energy, like you said. And that's often where women will find me. I feel like I'm the space holder for the dark feminine. What the hell went wrong? Who am I? And in that place, it includes a healing of listening to that feminine again. Like you and I sound like we were very similar. I was so far into that masculine energy. I rejected all other parts of myself. I still find it incredibly daily practice to remember to soften and forgive myself if I didn't tick everything off the list and all of those things. But we don't, in this place is where you need women. In this place is where you need a safe place to explore the shadows, to heal, to cry, to grieve, to reclaim parts of yourself that you rejected when you were a little girl because you were told you were weak if you did that. This is that beautiful, juicy space. And you stay in there for how long you stay in there. We hope, we want it to be quick. It's not. It's not usually.
Damn it, why is it not quick?
It's not quick. But then eventually we emerge, because we don't stay there either. We emerge bringing the masculine and feminine together. That is the goal. But then it keeps going round. Like that is the cycle. This is the cycle of our lives. This is what we do. We step out, we give it a try. Oh, not quite yet. Retreat, heal, remember, emerge again. And then retreat. Like that's how we do it. And that needs to be okay. This is what we have got wrong.
And you know what we are, it's giving our children, including our daughters, but I mean, I have a son, so also including our sons, it's giving them a real view of what that is like, rather than suppressing it and keeping it in and be angry, but keep doing it. Like the soul kind of, I'm doing it because I should, but on some level I feel I shouldn't, etc. And we keep doing and doing. We're teaching our daughters the same thing. We also teach our sons that that's what to be expected of a woman. If we can finally take down those walls and become vulnerable, and at the same time become really authentic and honest, we are allowing that next generation to see balance, where we've making it so much harder for ourselves than it had to be, maybe.
Absolutely. A mantra that really helped me when I was deeply trying to let myself rest, because I had, by the time my third child came along, I had pushed my poor, exhausted body to such an extreme that I went into early labor with him at 28 weeks and then was on bed rest for 10 weeks to keep him safe. And in those 10 weeks, that really was the spiritual awakening that I had needed. It was 10 weeks of sitting on the couch thinking to myself, why is this so hard? Why can't I just be okay with who I am? Why do I have to work so hard all the time to prove that I am who I used to be? That motherhood hasn't changed me, that I can still walk into the ABC and be their top producer and top journalist and call the Prime Minister's office. I was obsessed with not letting go of who I thought I wanted to be. And it was over those 10 weeks where I thought, this isn't working for me anymore. And in that deep, deep, deep time of, incredibly painful, in the sense of spiritually painful questioning, a mantra that I really used, and I've now shared with thousands of others, that really helps, is when I rest, I rise.
Oh, that's beautiful. That
When
would
I rest,
so
I
go
rise.
on my fridge, together with all my other amazing quotes that I've found. That is brilliant. When I rest, I rise.
Because we
Wow.
really, as we've said a number of times, we know we need it, but there's so much cultural judgment, lineage judgment, everything here. And that message, yes, it's for our girls, but it's also for our boys, because the boys need to learn that they can grow up and rest when they need it too.
Yeah,
We don't want
absolutely.
unhealthy masculines, just as much as we don't want unhealthy feminine energy in this world anymore.
Absolutely.
So this
Balance
is
between the two, and mutually supporting and dancing with each other, like you were saying. That's amazing. And there are societies who are doing it better than we are. It's like, I know that, for example, in Holland, one of my best oldest friends lives in Holland, and a lot of parents there work 3/4, 30 hours instead of 40 hours, male and female. And while they have little children, a lot of them are like, they are both taking time out, and between them make it work, and it's so much less exhausting, etc. So there are already concepts out there. It's not a dream that's unrealistic. It's perfectly doable if we are all committed to doing this. So looking back at spirituality now, what is it that we need to cultivate to allow this to emerge? Because it's not something that we need to find outside of ourselves. From what I'm hearing from you, and what resonates with me, is it is in us. We just need to break down those walls of holding ourselves into that cask of what we thought we were, to allow the natural flow of the female energy to rise. So how can someone who's listening to us, other than obviously reading all your blogs and becoming a part of your program, reading your book, how can someone start with easy practices to facilitate this mama rising?
3 things come to mind. One is, I started all those years ago, while I was resting for 10 weeks, with a 3-minute meditation once a day. That's all it was. I had to literally, that's all I could manage, not because of timing, but because that's all the permission I would give myself. I was so busy. There were so many other things I needed to do. If I had 2 toddlers at the time, so 3 minutes was a luxury. And I turned that 3 minutes once a day into eventually 3 minutes 3 times a day. And that was the program that I taught to thousands of mums for years, was that tiny thing. So what I'm saying with this is, the masculine will tell you it's huge, it's going to take a long time, it's going to be a lot of commitment, and you don't have time for that.
Do it properly, or don't do it at all.
That's right. And I see that in my programs with mums. I feel like I'm not doing this program properly. I'm not keeping up. That's such the masculine, unhealthy masculine energy. So start today giving yourself literally 3 minutes and just start listening to your breath and your body. Now, I know everybody who loves this channel will be very aware of the concepts of listening to your breath and connecting with your body. So it's not, I speak to some audiences and they're like, what do you mean listen to my breath for 3 minutes? So I know that they will understand what I mean. But really start small and then feel incredibly proud that that's there. Because that's the other thing that we are not doing, is that we celebrate that masculine achievement, but we don't celebrate that we stopped and had a cup of tea out in the sun, closed our eyes and just breathed for 3 minutes. The second is you really do need to find a space of women. You really do need to find.
I wish I had done that 10, 15 years ago, so much more than just in this last year.
And these women need to make you feel goosebumpy, excited, inspired when you finish talking to them. If your mother's group, if your sister's group, if the friends from school, when you walk away from them, you feel drained or you feel competitive or you worry about what they're going to say about you, not the right space. So really, and you know, we're in such a beautiful time in this world that we do have online spaces that can turn into, I mean, most of the women in my support group who are my soul sisters are online first. They were online programs.
Absolutely.
People in my programs, people that I reached out to. I'm thinking of Katie Rose. Like
I was just going to say, I'll link up Katie's monthly women's circle. She runs, Katie Rose is an online yoga Ayurveda facilitator and also teaches online prenatal yoga course. And she runs a monthly online women's circle. So I'll make sure that I'll pop that into the section underneath this video. If you are interested and you're somewhere rural or far away, or you don't have the time or the space to get away to join a circle in person, that's a good one to go to. What else, Amy?
And then the third thing is, as you said, the feminine is really that body practice. So it can be running, walking, gardening, dancing. I'm a huge student of Kundalini yoga. Anything that actually has making you feel your body again. Because this is also what we've so desperately disconnected from.
Living in our heads all the time.
Get out of our heads. I know it's, in a way, they sound so simplistic, but the feminine is actually incredibly simple in the sense of the earth is simple. Nature, it is so beautiful and divine, but it is just seasonal and needs water and sunshine, and like it's not complicated. Start to allow yourself to cut out all of this external noise and come back and really start carving out the tiniest amount of time, finding a place where women talk about being a woman, and invite you to think bigger and get out of your head and do something that connects you back in with your body. And this will begin that door that I spoke about at the beginning that just cracks open, and the universe will rush in. It will rush in. Absolutely. And before you know it, you've changed your whole career. You're surrounded by phenomenal women and you're doing things you never dreamed of. That's what happened to me.
Happened to me as well. I can totally attest to that. Mine wasn't the 3 minutes. Like for me, it took like some major upheaval and drama. It's kind of sometimes you need to get the wake up call in the form of like an energetic club on your head several times. And then maybe you're going to listen. You're like, you got it having to lie down for 10 months, for 10 weeks. And I got it in a different form, in the form of a divorce. And yet on the other side of all this upheaval and change and challenge lies so much amazingness. And it's like, in hindsight, it's always easy to say, but I'm glad to report that most people that I know have been through this dark valley, through this dark night of the soul, and are emerging as someone really, really powerful on the other side. Thank you so much, Amy. This has been a fascinating conversation, and it's just such a pleasure to talk to you about this, because it's such a juicy topic, such a topic that's so needed in our society. I can, off the top of my head, immediately think of a whole bunch of clients who I hope are going to see this and are going to look more deeply into you and your work and what you're doing. If that's you and you've been watching this conversation up until this point, and you are interested in Amy's work and the courses she's facilitating, we will pop her details, her website, her social media, and everything else you need to know about her underneath this video. So there you can find it. If you have questions for Amy, if you want to share your own experience, if you are a facilitator of women's circles or something that would serve people who have listened to this and who would love to know more, please feel free to share that in the comments. I'm perfectly happy for anyone who is serving women in this capacity to advertise themselves openly here on this thread. And as always, if you like our contents, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And if you want, hit the bell button so that you get notified when we are bringing out more content again. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here. Always a pleasure, and I trust we'll see you again soon.
Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for having me.